Hello, my name is Kiara, and our group will be going over sustainability in food. I will be going over why it is important to have sustainable food, what makes a food unsustainable, and the problems we face and create with unsustainable food. Three of the four presenters will be going over production and consumption of unsustainable foods. Kayla will be covering meats, Natsuda will be going over fish, and Matthew will be discussing almond milk. Our last presenter, Gracie, will be going over solutions in our own CSUN sustainability card. Sustainable means a development that meets the needs of the present practices that fulfill the needs of society while protecting the environment. It requires a balance among many interdependent and competing needs of society, its economies, and the planet itself. To be more sustainable, it requires support from the government and people to make a change. In the 21st century, it refers generally to the capacity for the biosphere and human civilization to coexist. Sustainable food is important because it ensures the food we eat is healthy, fresh, and doesn't get poisoned by chemicals. When we think of sustainable food, we often think of our local farmers and butchers. Why is that? It's because they aren't a part of mass production, which is the leading cause of world unsustainability. Things that are considered to make food unsustainable are water pollution from non-organic fertilizers, high-risk pesticides, and overexploitation of land. I would like to hope that it was only these few things that played into effect of our unsustainable lifestyle, but there are so many issues that play a part, such as high energy consumption, how we dispose of food, and soil erosion. What would happen if this continues? If this continues, we would have to double our food production, which as of right now takes up 70% of fresh water and contributes 30% to greenhouse gas emissions. Also, famine will increase, and we already have 3 billion people who are malnourished. In addition, we have to convert to a more plant rich diet because 50% of our food is used to feed livestock. In 2050, our global population is expected to be 9.7 billion, which is a 2.5 billion increase from today. Not only will our population be getting bigger, but our food demand will also increase by 60%. So, we are going to have more people, which leads to needing more food and water. But unfortunately, our fresh water supply will decrease by 40%.
Hello, my name is Natsuda and I did my portion of the project on meat and unsustainability. So the big question is, why is meat so unsustainable? Well, one of the big reasons is there's simply not enough space on planet Earth to sustain both humans and meat farming at the same time. So even if every animal was grass-fed and free range, that we could only actually be able to eat a specific amount of meat due to the limited amount of space that we have on the planet. Climate change is also a direct side effect of meat farming. There are carbon, methane fertilizers that use pesticides, and that can cause problems in large bodies of water, which in turn causes more problems for other animal and wildlife in the area. So some critics of the meat industry actually believe that a cut of the consumption in meat would be a good thing given the industry's contribution to climate change and the health impacts of a meat heavy diet. So we're going to get into some meat statistics and unsustainability. So meat actually contributes up to 7%, or it contributes 7% of greenhouse gas emissions. And according to the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, 26% of our planet's ice-free land is being used for livestock breeding, and 33% of our croplands is being used for grazing or livestock feed production. We actually also only get 100 grams of protein from beef per 120 grams of protein that we have to feed it. During the golden age of hamburgers, there were actually only 1 billion people on Earth, which made it possible to sustain that many people. But as of 2018, the demand has not went down, it's just been going up, and there are now 7.5 billion people, which is making it impossible to sustain. If we don't cut back from meat consumption, Earth might not be able to sustain its people by the year 2050. So we're going to talk about the meat industry and how it was affected by COVID-19. So obviously there's been a meat shortage because the demand for meat has skyrocketed because people are frequenting fast food drive-throughs more often, and they're visiting grocery stores more often because everybody is cooking from home. So CNBC reports that Costco and Kroger had to in fact limit how much meat each buyer can purchase at a time, as well as there's limited supply for meat at fast food drive-throughs such as Wendy's. There's also been outbreaks of coronavirus among factory workers in meat factories, and you know, even after all of that, the president had demanded that meat factories remain open to try to make up for the supply that is not being met, um, or to make up for the demand that is not being met. So some solutions that we can do to make meat more sustainable is to limit human population growth, because like I said, demand just keeps skyrocketing. There's not enough room on Earth to sustain that many people and that much meat, or half of the population goes vegetarian. An Oxford study has actually recommended that the Western states cut back meat consumption by as far as 90%. So the question remains, do we want to have more meat or more people? Thank you.
Hi, my name is Kayla, and I will be talking about why fishing is unsustainable and why fish are not sustainable. Fish farming and overfishing are one of the main contributors to the lack of fish that will be available to us. Fish farming is raising fish in commercial tanks or pens. Some concerns that come with this are the diseases that are spread to nearby wildlife and the fact that if these fish were to escape, they have no chance of survival due to not being genetically adapted to being able to live on their own. Overfishing is when we deplete the stock of fish in the ocean. This is the biggest toll on fish at the moment. This does not allow for the fish to continue to sustain themselves, and this practice has been linked to ruin several ecosystems. Some consequences, as I've mentioned, from the ecosystems is our coral reefs being destroyed from dredging and trawling. Dredging and trawling is when fishermen take a net and they drag it along the floor, and whatever ends up there ends up there. So as you can imagine, if they're dragging along a coral reef, it's not very good for it. Some other consequences come from bluefin tuna. Um, these pictures here are pictures of freezers that are located in Japan of the overfishing of bluefin tuna. Their goal has been to completely deplete the stock of them in the ocean so that once they are gone, they can sell them for whatever price they want for food. Obviously, this is pretty terrible, and we should not contribute. So 3 billion people rely on fish as protein source. I am one of those 3 billion people, but after looking at all the research, I will be trying to cut back on my fish or eating more sustainable fish. These are some of the plates that I'm sure many of us have either had or seen. 3 billion people is a lot of people to be relying on one type of food source. COVID-19 has actually been good for fish. There's been 80% less fishing activity, so it's been a great opportunity to repopulate the fish. Satellite data and observations have indicated that fishing is down in China and in West Africa. This unplanned fishing pause is an opportunity to research how and when fish will be repopulating so that in the future we can put a pause on fishing and let them repopulate. Um, since there has been a slowdown for about a half a year with the fish, this allows for them to go through a spawning cycle and hopefully repopulate the ocean. Commercial fishing has slowed down due to COVID-19, and fish behavior has begun to change. They are seeing fish appear more on the surface and predators becoming more active. The solution that I will be talking about is the fish management system. These are some of the ones that are located near us or around the world. A fish management system has a clear objective of what they're trying to do, so where they're going to fish, when they're going to fish, how many people are allowed to fish. There's engagement from the people involved. There's regulations set. They assess how things are going. So if things need to change and they need to fish less, that's what they will do. And they track obviously the status, so how many people are going on at a time, etc. This can be a major contributor to repopulating our ocean and making fish a sustainable food source one day. Now, Matthew will be talking about almond milk.
Looking at other unsustainable food sources, a major factor for unsustainable foods that we face is almond milk. Almond milk rose in popularity in the 2000s and increased over 75% in 2013. However, with this increase in popularity growing and growing each year, that it is a unsustainable popularity due to the fact that the amount of water, land, and pesticides used just to create almond milk for us is very damaging to the environment and for later us. The reality of almond milk process is the amount of water that is used is astronomical. The land that is also used is way too big, and it needs plenty of land just to get the amount of almonds to create a single glass of almond milk. The pesticides that we have to use this is damaging the environment, the wildlife. So this process is very damaging for the environment. Looking at farmland, the amount of acres that is used is about 23,000 acres. Natural land have been covered in almond farms, primarily in California, seeing as we are the highest almond milk producers. This is very damaging for us because of later going on to the water supply that is needed is very insane. But going on to the pesticide problem, the amount of bees that are being killed off is 50 billion honeybees were being killed over winter of 2018 2019. This is a huge problem that we face due to bees being a very crucial part of the ecosystem, pollinating flowers and helping the environment as a whole. Getting to the meat and potatoes of everything, the problem we face is water, the amount of consumption of water that we need to use just to sustain a almond farm is astronomical. A single glass of almond milk is 74 liters and 130 pints of water is needed. Essentially, that is a shower. So the amount just to get a glass is not sustainable for us long term, especially in California. Again, going locally, our process in terms of California having mostly almond milk farms and due to the rise in popularity, and it's going to continue to rise unless we find a solution to this. But we're going to continue to rise, getting more farms just because of the supply and demand. So that's hurting the wildlife, deforestation, and adding pesticides. The amount of water that's going to be using just to get these new farms and the current farms is also furthering the drought that we're currently facing in California. So this is a huge problem. It's like an endless circle. If we continue this, it's not a sustainable way of, especially in California, due to our low amount of water. This is very unsustainable for us. In COVID, we are facing a major change because due to the fact that regular milk is being blown or has a drawback of not being able to supply and demand the amount of because of due to livestock. There's multiple variables. However, almond milk doesn't need these variables and it's being pushed out more by markets. And this is a problem due to the fact that we need to not have almond milk being one of the primary sources, if anything, oat milk. There are other solutions other than almond milk that is better for the environment and that can help out more. A solution that we could have is to reduce the size of almond milk cartons. While this is a small step, this is also still a huge impact due to the fact of the less use of plastic and the less use of almond milk. To further emphasize that almond milk is damaging to the environment, so the less we need, the better.
My name is Gracie, and I'll be presenting solutions. These are changes that you can make that will help us create a more sustainable world. So first are meat solutions. Right now, what's really popular is the Beyond Burger. This company is 100% sustainable and has created a 100% plant-based burger. The way that the company works, because it is sustainable, that means it's using less water, less land, less energy, all ways that will benefit our world. This burger, the most interesting thing about it is that it wasn't really attracting vegans and vegetarians as much as it was attracting meat eaters. That is their number one customer right now. They say that the burger is delicious and they love the sustainability factor. Fish solutions. This is huge because right now more than 3 billion people in the world depend on fish as a major source of protein. Kayla already mentioned why this massive demand restricts us from being a sustainable society. This number is too huge and we need your help to reduce it. So ways you can do that are by getting friendly with these labels. Natureland, MSC, Soil Association, ASC, RSPCA, these are all eco-friendly companies. And the app Seafood Watch is a great way to find these labels and other eco-friendly labels at your local grocery stores and restaurants. It literally just pulls it up there for you and gives you suggestions on what's in your area and tells you information about the fish as well, facts of sustainability or just in general. Almond milk alternatives. A very popular solution to milk and almond milk is lab-made milk. Lab-made milk is contains the same two ingredients that regular milk has, whey and casein. It's 100% milk or dairy-free. It has the same protein at around the same levels, and you get the same taste, texture, but without the unsustainable factory farming and extra added hormones. Another great alternative to almond milk is coconut milk. I personally use this. It's so good. Coconut farms, or coconut factory farms, they don't use as much land or water. If you know anything about coconuts, they naturally create a lot of water, which is the reason why they don't use as much water. Creating a sustainable system. To create a sustainable system, it really starts with you. If you want to see a change, you got to be the change. So you got to start thinking differently. Check the facts of your meat. Where is this coming from? Is it coming from a sustainable factory, or is it coming from an industrial factory? Is this an eco-friendly label, or where did this fish come from? And be committed. Download the app. Get involved in your community. Support better prices, decent working conditions, local sustainability, and fair terms of trade for farmers and workers. A great way to start sustainability is with your water usage in home. Take shorter showers. Turn off the water when you're brushing your teeth. Turn off the water when you're washing the dishes. These are all things that you've heard before, and they are so true because they will help us reduce the water. Another way that you can reduce your water is by getting a WaterSense labeled shower head. A WaterSense label is a a label that you'll see on these products that meets EPA criteria. So basically, it's telling you that the water is more efficient, it's using 20% less water, it's saving energy, and it's performing better than the regular models. Another way that we waste a lot of water is through leaks, like in your pipes or from your sprinklers is a very common one. One drip per second can waste 3,000 gallons per year. So make sure you're checking your pipes, are your shower heads updated, and turn off the water when you don't need to be using it. Lastly is CSUN Sustainability Garden. This is an awesome way to get involved with your community, your peers, the faculty and staff at CSUN. This is such a cute garden. I went actually to go visit myself because I live right across the street from CSUN. And I ran into a volunteer there that was with her family doing some planting and taking some of their locally grown food over to the CSUN pantry. And she was so sweet. She gave me a bunch of information and did in fact tell me that the garden is regularly upkept, which is why I ran into her. She goes at least once a week there to do some upkeep and some new planting. The garden and program is there to inform you about sustainability, healthy choices, and talk to you about how to get more involved. One way is to go online through the CSUN portal and look up Organics Working Group. This is a group that meets 4 times a year. And when they're not meeting up to discuss new ways of sustainability or to update rules, they are going about CSUN to actively keep up sustainability and are going out into our local community and speaking out about sustainability. So this was our project. I hope that you enjoyed, and I hope that you are inspired to make some meat and milk alternative changes. Download the app and check out CSUN Sustainability Garden.